This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to lockdown coverage, week number 2 in the National Football League. Baltimore Ravens at home for the first time this season. Second game within the division in as many weeks, this time taking on the Cleveland Browns. And you know how this goes. A little bit of AFC North family business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's family business. And so Browns much better on the defensive side of the football, as we've already talked about. Still going to struggle on the offensive side. And against this caliber of defense, you had to know the turnovers were going to come. The question wasn't, were they going to turn over the football? It was how many turnovers were they going to have in this game, and was the amount of turnovers going to hinder their chances of winning this football game? The answer was 5, and the other answer was a resounding yes, as the Ravens were able to stymie the Browns offensively. And again, we're never going to confuse the Ravens for the greatest show on turf, but because of the amount of defense that they play week in and week out, and doing just enough on offense, they're going to be in ball games and they're going to win their fair share of ball games. Right now, still don't know what to make of this Ravens football team. They haven't played anybody yet. Okay, we didn't know how the Cincinnati Bengals were going to be this year. They look terrible. They're in turmoil right now. So that game right now looks like a farce. That team looks like one of the worst teams in the league. And I don't know if it's going to end up being that way, but right now they're in such disarray and they haven't scored a single touchdown this season that now that game in week 1 that the Ravens were able to go over there and shut them out and dominate doesn't look as impressive. It's impressive because you still got to shut a team out and you still got to go and force 5 turnovers and sack their quarterback 5 times and hit them another 8 times and really just disrupt things. But that being said, the Texans did a similar thing to those Bengals and were able to come away with a victory. And so not so sure if the Ravens are good yet. They've had a steady diet of bad teams to start the season off. And I don't know who they're playing in week 3, but if my man AK is correct, and he was talking about the Jags, sounds like they play them next, and that will be another opportunity for them to not give up a touchdown and shut a team down for the most part and walk away with another 23-3 victory. Sounds like that's what has the potential to happen if they play the Jags next, but we'll see. Anyway, I digress. Let's get into this breakdown. But before we do, if you haven't already subscribed to the Louie T Network, what are you waiting on? Go ahead, hit the subscription button and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game here. Want you to be a part of what we're doing here by simply hitting that subscription button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. I'm also on Twitter. @InTheLabRoom is the Twitter handle. Go ahead, give me a follow there. If you're watching this video live and you want to comment, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read at the end of this breakdown. So I'm going to start with the Ravens and another dominant performance on the defensive side of the football. And this defense just continues to harass quarterbacks. They got after Kaiser early in this game. He ended up leaving with a migraine headache, but not before he turned it over once. He came back into the game, and he was worse than when he left the game. And I honestly thought that Kevin Hogan was playing better and they should have left him in. But we'll talk about that when we get to the Browns. This Ravens defense turned Hogan over. This Ravens defense turned Kaiser over. This Ravens defense did whatever they wanted to in this game. And they weren't the sharpest on special teams, just incredible. Finally missed a kick. Seems like he never misses. And that was right before the half. Well, the defense said, don't worry about it. We got your back. they go and force a turnover and get the football right back to the offense, who then promptly takes the football and gets a run play, which this should never happen, with about 15 seconds left, down, or more like 19 seconds left, down to the 1 yard line on a Buck Allen run for about 37 yards, which puts them in a position where, hey, we don't have any timeouts. Be cautious with the football. They roll Joe Flacco out and on a speed cut, boom. They hit Macklin, and just like that, they're in the end zone. I thought that was the turning point of this ball game. If I'm not mistaken, the score at that juncture might have been 10-7. If not 10-7, 17-7. I think the score was 10-7 at that point. If it wasn't, it was 17-7. Either way, that touchdown right before the half was backbreaking. It just gave the Ravens all the momentum and all the ammunition they needed to put this game away, essentially. And so can't have that happen if you're the Browns. They were just looking for a field goal. That's all the Ravens wanted in that situation, and you give up the big run there. And this defense, they've been so opportunistic, setting the Ravens up for scoring opportunities, scoring themselves. They've been outstanding early this season. 5 more turnovers, additional 5 to the 5 that they created in week 1 for a whopping, stunning total of 10 turnovers created by this defense in the first 2 weeks of the season. That is just amazing and insane when you think about it. But you look around this defense and you see the level of football players that they have at each level, and the amount of talent that they have, with Terrell Suggs being healthy, because that's always been my one missing ingredient from this team. When T-Sizzle isn't healthy, they don't have a consistent pass rush. But with Terrell Suggs healthy, you get the pass rush off the defensive line. You look at the linebacker core with Mosley, and now all of a sudden Tyus Bowser making plays. He had an interception in this game. You look at the secondary, and it's just littered with guys that can make plays. Weddle had an interception. Jefferson has been a nice acquisition to this football team. We know what Jimmy Smith is when he's healthy. LaDarius Webb making the transition over from corner to safety. He made a play in the end zone and got a pick. This team is just dangerous, and they have a bunch of guys that are ball hawks and playmakers all over this defense, and they continue to create turnovers, force the issue, get to the quarterback, get the ball out. T. Suggs forcing another fumble in this game. It's what they do. It's what they do, and they've been dominant thus far this season. And again, the offense has not been great, okay? Haven't had to do much, but they've done enough because this defense has put them in positions where they haven't had to do a ton to win football games. And so hats off to this Ravens defense. I don't know how long this is going to last in terms of the turnovers, because I think this is a good defense that's not going to give up a ton of points this year. But I don't know how long this turnover parade is going to last. But right now it's fiesta, fiesta, fiesta. Fiesta, fiesta, fiesta. It's a fiesta. It's a turnover party. Everybody's getting involved. Everybody's getting them some. And right now, this Ravens defense is playing at such a high level that it's taking all of the pressure off of this Ravens offense. Speaking of which, go to that side of the football. And the run game continues to be a point of emphasis for this Ravens football team. I did not know that the Ravens had Alex Collins on their practice squad. That's a great pickup. I really liked Alex Collins coming out of Arkansas, drafted by the Seahawks. Obviously, they didn't have space for him on their roster any longer. They cut him loose. And this is a great landing destination for him. I think he can get some touches here in Baltimore. And he fumbled in this game. That's not going to help his cause for more playing time. But I thought he was effective when he got touches. I like his rushing style, and I think it fits what they do in Baltimore. And I want to see more of Alex Collins getting touches in that Ravens backfield. You hate taking touches away from Terrence West, but I'm starting to like Buck Allen more than West, and I really like Alex Collins. I think he's more dynamic than Terrence West, and so I really want to see more Alex Collins. I thought he was impressive despite the fumble in this football game. It's great to see some guys get involved at the tight end position. Benjamin Watson was outstanding in this game. If he can stay healthy, he'll be a big weapon for you because your tight end position, albeit decimated, you still have a ton of depth. I saw Boyle get involved in this game. I saw Max Williams get a touch or two in this game. But Benjamin Watson is the best of that group. He's still the most athletic of that group. And he showed that he can be effective if healthy once again in this ball game. And we know Macklin is the best thing you got at receiver. That's all you have right now at receiver. And I'm ready to declare Bashad Perriman a bust at this point. He absolutely rejected a pass early in this football game. And I don't ever see the light bulb coming on for him. Mike Wallace is Mike Wallace. You know what you're getting there. And so this Ravens wide receiving core not going to knock the socks off of anybody, not going to scare anybody's defense. But Macklin is your one saving grace. He must stay healthy if you want to have a fighting chance on the offensive side of the football. If he goes down, this team offensively is in trouble. Speaking of injuries and someone going down, Marshall Yanda went down in this game, and by all accounts, sounds like it's a serious injury, and he's going to be out for the entire season. I don't know the extent of the injury. I don't know the exact injury, but yesterday I got a nice message from Bleacher Report, and it basically said Marshall Yanda out for the year, knee. That's it. And so that's a crushing blow to a Ravens football team that already had 14 players before Yanda went on IR. And so now that makes it 15, and we're only in week 2, which is amazing, but this is what the offseason has been for the Ravens this year. This is why you trust in Ozzie, and that's why the Ravens fans say in Ozzie we trust, because the depth on this roster has always been amazing. They always seem to be able to overcome injuries, and this is going to be another season where your depth is going to be tested. Next man up. How many times can you possibly do that, though? How many times can you say, all right, our guard that we just drafted is hurt for the season, and now your best offensive lineman and your all-pro guard is down for the season? How many times can you say that and have the next guy step up and actually be effective? I don't know the answer to that, but in any event, the Ravens continue to chug along 24-10. Offense does just enough. Flacco looked a lot better than he did in week 1. Remember, that was his first game back. They kind of had him on a pitch count, only 9 completions on 17 tosses last week. They opened it up a little bit more this week, let Flacco throw it a lot more. 25 completions this week on 34 attempts. So Flacco's starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. He's moving a lot better as well, got out of the pocket just fine in this football game. And I think offensively, if guys stay healthy, I think the Ravens offensively will come along. I don't know how much better they're going to get, but they're going to be good enough to win football games with the way they're playing defense. You go to the Browns side of things, and you start with the defense. I feel bad for the defense because the defense played well enough in the first 2 games for them to win. Now, it wasn't as dominant this week as it was last week versus Pittsburgh, but in any event, I thought the defense played well enough. They created a turnover, 2 turnovers in this game, forced a fumble, picked Flacco off once. They did some really good things defensively. They held the Ravens down in this game for the most part. Again, you can't help when the offense turns it over 5 times. You're going to give up points based off of those turnovers. The offense moves the football all the way down the field, throws an interception in the end zone. Those are the types of plays you can't have. Those are backbreakers, and those are the ones you want to eliminate from your game if you're the Browns. But you got young quarterbacks, and with young quarterbacks come mistakes. And it's a shame because, like I said, this defense, they're playing well enough, man. As a collective group, I just like this defense. They're young, they're hungry, they're athletic, they flow to the football, they're physical. I just like what they bring to the table, and they're still missing, arguably, a guy that could be their best player in Myles Garrett. And so when he comes back, he's going to add another dimension to their defense. So I just like what they're doing defensively. It just sucks that right now they're not getting the help that they need from the offense to be a more effective football team. Speaking of which, let's go to the offensive side of the football. First and foremost, I love Duke Johnson. Did you see the one-handed grab in this game? That guy's phenomenal. Love what he brings to the table. He needs to touch the football more. Along with Isaiah Crowell, I don't understand this love, this fatal attraction that Hugh Jackson has with throwing a football when he's got guys on this team that can help him out of the backfield. And I don't care if you throw it to Duke Johnson on a screen, on a swing pass, get blockers out in front of him. You split them out wide and let them break off one of these linebackers. Just get Duke Johnson the football. Isaiah Crowell only had 10 carries. Why? I thought he was running the football effectively, and I know he only had 37 yards, and I know one of those carries was probably like 15 yards. Give him more touches. Again, you're not good enough at the quarterback position to just say to hell with the run game. We're going to throw it. We're going to throw it 40 times. Kaiser probably had at least 25 pass attempts. Hogan probably had another 10 to 15 pass attempts. That's not good enough. You need to run the football more. And you got guys that can make some plays. Speaking of guys making plays, Rashad Higgins was outstanding in this football game. He's starting to have the light bulb come on. This was by far the best game he's had as a pro in his career. And if they can continue to get that out of him, that's going to be a breath of fresh air because Kenny Brent stinks. And I already told the Browns, don't go out and sign Kenny Brent. Kenny Brent is no more than a number 2 receiver in this league, and he was fine being a number 2 receiver in Los Angeles and being obscure out there with the Rams. He would have done just fine. Now that he's been paid and he has expectations that have been placed on him, this is when he struggles just like he did in Tennessee. So really disappointed in Kenny Britt, but Higgins did pick up some of that slack. Seth DeValve was outstanding in this game, a guy that I loved coming out of college and I thought could be a big-time acquisition here for the Browns, and he's starting to show why they liked him and I liked him. And then you get some production out of Njoku. I think the tight end position might be your best skill position on this football team when it's all said and done. You've got athletic freaks at the tight end position, and those guys can win and win big. Njoku with an amazing catch on a pass from Hogan, who I thought played much better than Kaiser did in this game, despite the interception that Hogan threw in this game. I thought he was more effective. The offense was moving with him in the football game, and I thought they should have allowed him to stay in the game when Kaiser came back and not take him out of the game. He was in a little bit of a rhythm. I thought the offense, more importantly, was in a little bit of a rhythm with Hogan out there, but nonetheless, they bring Kaiser back in, and then the turnovers really begun to flow once Kaiser came back in after his migraine had subsided. So I don't know what they're doing offensively right now. I don't think Hugh Jackson knows what they're doing offensively. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no offensive rhythm with this Browns team that just seem to be calling random plays. And there's no fluidity, no continuity with which they're calling their offense. I still don't know the identity of this team. Do they want to run the football? Do they want to throw the football? Are they a run-dominant team? Are they good at passing the football? I still can't tell you because there's no identity with this football team. And there's something to be said about establishing some type of consistency offensively. I mean, week to week, the Patriots change up their game plan. Now they're the Patriots and they can do that. But there's an identity there. If the Patriots need to throw it 50 times, they know they can with Tom Brady. If the Patriots need to run it, they know they can run it. But if all else fails, they can always go to the short passing game with Brady. That's their identity. There's no identity with the Browns right now. And I don't know what Hugh's doing. I don't know what he's calling. But there's no fluidity with this offense right now. I just don't get it. They'll run it on 3rd and 4 and not pick it up. They'll throw it on 3rd and 1. Like there was a 3rd and 1, and granted, Hogan threw it. Hogan threw it down the field, and Duke Johnson made that amazing one-hand grab. But it's 3rd and 1. What are you doing? I mean, I just don't know with this Browns football team. I'm at a loss right now. But in any event, the offense turned it over 5 times and had a crucial turnover right before the half that really put this game out of reach and allowed the Ravens to then end up getting a touchdown. Now, that turnover didn't have to turn into 7 points. The defense gave up a huge run that set up the Macklin touchdown, but you can't keep putting the defense in compromising positions and expecting them not to fold They gave you an opportunity to score right before the half, and you regurgitate all over yourself and give it right back to the Ravens. After they missed the field goal, gave you great field position with an opportunity to get points, you give it right back, and they're able to score the touchdown. And so Ravens get it done 24-10, run their record to 2-0 on the season. More importantly, 2-0 in this division. Browns drop to 0-2. More importantly, they're 0-2 in the AFC North division. Let's go to any of your comments that you may have for this breakdown here. See what we got. Andrew Kim says, I don't know if the Browns should have put Kaiser in after his migraine because he was just not better and he didn't handle the pressure well. Hogan was lighting it up. I agree. I thought Hogan was playing his ass off. He had them in a position to just be competitive in this football game from an offensive standpoint. And the minute they yanked him, Kaiser came in and the turnovers just started coming in bunches. And I would have loved to have seen Hogan. And really, to be honest with you, I thought Hogan, with the combination of Kessler last year, were the best two quarterbacks that they had. And every time Hogan's been in there, I thought he's played well enough to get another opportunity. And for some reason, they just don't want to keep him in the game. And I thought that was to their detriment, taking him out of the game and putting Kaiser back in the game. Rashard Higgins was something, though. Kaiser's other receivers didn't help him at all. He could have gotten hurt again after he came back with the pressure the Ravens were putting on him. Absolutely. I mean, they were after him, and Kaiser doesn't know how to protect himself. That was one of the problems at Notre Dame, is that he holds on to the football way too long, puts a lot of pressure on his offensive line because he takes deep drops, and then instead of him escaping or stepping up in the pocket up towards the A-gaps, he wants to come to the outside, and he runs right into sacks. And so he's a guy that doesn't set his protections up well with the way that he manipulates the pocket or lack thereof. So I just wasn't a fan. And definitely Rashard Higgins was one of the few bright spots at the receiver position for the Browns in this game. But like I said, the tight end position is something to behold. And they need to utilize. I'm disappointed in Hugh because he should realize what they have, who are the guys you can get the football to, and find creative ways to do that. Duke Johnson is a guy that needs to touch the football more. Seth DeValve, okay, David Njoku needs to touch the football more. Rashard Higgins, I think after this game, has earned the right to see the football come his direction more. So you need to game plan to get those particular guys touches within the flow of the offense. We'll see what Hugh Jackson does. I don't understand what he's doing right now. Andrew Kim says, Terrence West is dealing with soft tissue issues. Day-to-day makes sense since Allen and Collins got more carries. Okay, I wonder why we saw Alex Collins so much in this game. I actually liked him, though. I feel like he is a guy that could be a really good back for the Ravens moving forward. Andrew Kim also says, Yonda had a fractured ankle. Right now, Tony Bergstrom is the right guard, but Jermaine Illuminor could be the starter, and that's the guy you drafted out of Texas A&M. It wouldn't shock me if Illuminor ends up getting that opportunity. Bergstrom, been in the league for a while, was drafted by the Raiders, never has amounted to much, and we'll see if Illuminor can take that spot or not. And then Andrew Kim says, it was like last year's game when Cody Kessler was good and pulled him in the second half when they could have won. I remember that game. It was a Thursday night game. Cody Kessler, I think they were right in the ball game. It wasn't a pretty first half by any stretch of the imagination, but Cody Kessler hadn't done anything dumb, and they were right in the game. It might have been like 7-6 at halftime, and they yanked him in favor of McCown, I guess. I don't even remember who was on the roster last year. And it went south. I think McCown was the guy they inserted, and he ended up throwing like 2 or 3 interceptions in the second half, and the Ravens won going away. So, yeah, similar games, similar circumstances, different quarterbacks, but the fact remains the same. The Baltimore Ravens get it done in Week 2 versus the Browns, 24-10. 10 turnovers in the first 2 weeks for the Ravens. Wowzers. And so we'll see if they can continue this hot streak to the season. start to the season defensively with all the turnovers forced, and we'll see if the offense can rev it up. When you're forcing 5 turnovers a game, you should be scoring up over 30, okay? Not barely hitting 20 and then hitting 24. So we'd love to see the Ravens start revving it up offensively and kind of matching the intensity that the defense is bringing to the table. We'll see what happens moving forward. But nonetheless, 2-0 start to the season for the Ravens as they dominate defensively yet again, this time the Cleveland Browns, who dropped to 0-2 on the season. And they're searching for answers, and right now I think Hugh Jackson is just lost. I really think Hugh Jackson is lost right now. It's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage, Browns and Ravens. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I got Colts and Cardinals coming at you next, and then we'll get to the next slew of games, and we'll come back and break those down. But I got Colts and Cards ready for you right now, so I'll be back in about 10 minutes with Cardinals and Colts, and then we'll jump into the rest of the games from week number 2 in the National Football League as we kind of work our way towards Monday Night Football, Lions at Giants. I'm your man Louie T, signing off. I'll see you in a bit. Have a good one.